5 people, including 2 doctors, have been charged over the drug-related death of Friends star Matthew Perry.
Prosecutors in the US claim the accused took advantage of the late actor's addiction issues to enrich themselves, supplying him with large amounts of ketamine. The 54-year-old died in October due to a ketamine overdose. So let's go straight to our North America correspondent, Barbara Miller now. Barb, what do we know about those charged?
Well, prosecutors in Los Angeles say that 2 doctors and 3 other people engaged in what they called a broad underground criminal network to supply Matthew Perry with those large amounts of ketamine. Now, among the 5, a live-in assistant to Matthew Perry, who is alleged to have injected him with large amounts of the drug ketamine, including on the day he died in October, late October last year. Matthew Perry, of course, found unresponsive in the hot tub at his LA home. Another one of the 5 is a woman that prosecutors said is known as the ketamine queen, a supplier. And they said that when they raided her property, it was like a drug-selling emporium. So all those 5 alleged to have exploited Matthew Perry's addiction. Prosecutors saying that in the last couple of months before he died, he'd slid back into addiction, and they are alleged at points to have charged him $2,000 for 1 vial of ketamine, which they said that doctor in question, that was a Dr. Chavez, had acquired for $12. So a huge markup there. And in announcing these charges, US prosecutors saying that the doctors, including Salvador Plasencia, were ruthless in their exploitation of the star.
Defendant Plasencia saw this as an opportunity to profit off of Mr. Perry. He wrote in a text message in September 2023, quote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay." He also stated in text messages that he wanted to be Mr. Perry's sole source of supply. He wrote in a text message that he wanted to be Mr. Perry's, quote, "go-to for drugs."
Now, it's been revealed that 3 of those charged have already pled guilty to the charges. That wasn't previously known. The 2 others are expected to be arraigned shortly. All potentially face very lengthy terms in jail. And US authorities saying they want to send a message that if you supply illegal drugs, you will be held accountable.
Barbara Miller in Washington, thank you.
New figures reveal Australia has had its deadliest 12 months on our roads for more than a decade. Stephanie Ferrier is in Melbourne for us this morning. Steph, good morning. Can you break down these figures for us?
Good morning, Michael. This is data from the latest Bureau of Infrastructure and Transport Research Economics figures, and it reveals that 1,327 people died on our roads in the year to July the 31st. Now, that is the worst toll that we've seen in a 12-month period since October the 12th. And nationally, that also accounts for a 10.2% increase on our road toll from the previous 12 months. And if we break it down state by state, those 123 deaths across the country, you can see that the most staggering increase is in Northern Territory, with almost 174% increase there. Those figures have gone from 23 deaths up to 63. But just in terms of raw figures, New South Wales has actually recorded the highest number of deaths in that 12 months, 363 deaths, or up 17%. We've also seen increases as well in Melbourne, also in Victoria, also in Queensland and Western Australia, while the figures have actually declined in South Australia, Tasmania and also the ACT.
What has the reaction been to the figures?
We've heard from the Australian Automobile Association, and they say that these figures really point to a crisis on our roads. They say that it's clear that our national strategy to halve the road toll by 2030 is not going to in any way meet its objectives. And they say that this is a real unacceptable trend when we have 110 people dying on our roads nationally every single month. They're calling on state and territory governments alike to release more data data about the details of these crashes, so the cause of them, also the road conditions at the time and the level of policing. And they believe that by having increased transparency, it will mean that we can actually see a cut to our road toll with people sharing that data across state borders and coming up with better policy settings.
OK, Steph Ferrier, thank you.
Well, talks aimed at achieving a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza have begun in Qatar as the death toll in the Palestinian enclave since October 7 surpasses 40,000. International pressure for a ceasefire has intensified, with hopes a deal could prevent Iran retaliating for the killing of Hamas's leader on its soil last month. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights says the Palestinian death toll marks a grim milestone for the world.
Most of the dead are women and children. This unimaginable situation is overwhelmingly due to recurring failures by the Israeli Defense Forces to comply with the rules of war.
Israel disputes the Gaza Health Ministry figures and claims its forces have killed 17,000 militants. The NT's Anti-Discrimination Commissioner has had to scale down a review into systemic racism in the police force because of a lack of funding. $300,000 in funding was provided for the process after allegations of racism aired in the inquest into the police shooting of Kumanjai Walker. But Commissioner Jeswin Yogaratnam says neither the police nor the territory government has committed the additional $1.5 million he says the review would require.
More than 15,000 West Australians are set for a power bill shock after a billing mistake by state-owned energy company Synergy. The technical error occurred when customers were not charged by their usual bill date, meaning their next two bills will be closer together. Synergy has apologised to affected customers. Premier Roger Cook says hardship customers will not be charged.
Sydney's new metro line opens on Monday following approval from the National Rail Safety Regulator. The original opening of the $21 billion project was delayed when it failed to receive necessary approvals and was further put on hold after a firefighter suffered an electric shock while completing safety drills.
Let's take a quick look at global markets for you now. The Aussie dollar this morning buying 66.1 US cents, gold up a little bit as well.
And Facebook and Meta founder Mark Zuckerberg has lifted the bar for spouses everywhere, unveiling a 2.1 metre tall statue of his wife, Priscilla Chan. Mr. Zuckerberg posted a photo of Ms. Chan posing with the sculpture on social media, saying he was simply bringing back the Roman tradition of making sculptures of your wife.